Am I the asshole for reorganizing my library while pregnant and telling my in-laws my husband wouldn't help me? I've recently had an almost obsessive urge to reorganize everything in my home. My library is one of the places I felt needed to be changed ASAP, so I asked my husband multiple times if he would help me as my shelves are pretty high up and I have a lot of books that are heavy to move. He kept telling me he would help me later as he was busy. It felt like later was never coming, so I finally decided to just do it myself while my husband was working. My in-laws came to visit us and they walked in on me grabbing books from the higher shelves. They thought what I was doing was dangerous and that I could have fallen. My husband also freaked out and kept telling me to get down and saying I shouldn't be carrying heavy things. My father-in-law asked me why I hadn't asked somebody else to move my books for me, and I told him I did ask my husband but he wouldn't help me. He did try to correct them that he said he would help me later, but his parents told him off for not doing it for me. He thinks I made him look bad to his parents and is upset that I didn't correct them and because I didn't wait for him to reorganize my library. We keep arguing because I told him that he didn't help and that I didn't want his help anymore and I would finish the library myself. Am I the asshole? You are the asshole. From your comments, it sounds like you admit your husband was in fact busy, and just feel like he should have reprioritized to help you with the library, but it wasn't actually urgent. It was only urgent to you. If you were tired of waiting and wanted to do it yourself, that's fine, but going around and telling his parents it's because he refused to help you was an asshole move. Despite what the general populace seems to think, pregnant women are not invalids, and if you paced yourself and were careful, you were likely completely fine doing the work yourself. Am I the asshole for embarrassing my dad during dinner in front of everyone and refusing to apologize for it? My 16 female dad, 46 male, loves pranks. He regularly watch those old prank vids on YT for hours, then try them out on everyone around him. Once I heard my mom screaming upstairs and ran to see what happened. It turned out Dad poured a bucket of ice water on her while she was in the shower. Another time I walked out to my car and found it missing. I ran back in the house crying because I thought it got stolen. My dad was laughing so hard he was almost on the floor. He moved my car. I love Dad, but sometimes it's exhausting living with him. My older sis Jessie, 24 female, lives out of state. A month ago, she told us she's coming to visit and bringing home her boyfriend David. I don't know his age, but he looks to be in his older 20s, for us to meet him. Jessie usually likes the pretty boys who wears polo shirts and are around 6 feet tall. This is important, trust me. When Dad heard about it, he was so excited he couldn't hold it in. He ran out and bought the hottest hot sauce he could find. He showed it off to me and Mom and told us he's going to make a special plate for David. Of course I told my sis, but she told me not to worry about it. When she came home last night and David walked through the door, we were all shocked. David is a little shorter than sis and a full head shorter than Dad. He looks like someone shaved a pit bull and forced it into a sports jacket. I'm not talking about the cute ones you see running downstairs and taking showers with their owners. He looks like someone stuck him into a blender and he won. When he went to shake hands with Dad, I can see David had wider shoulders, bigger hands, and his forearms was 2x as big. I could also see and was staring at this scar on the back of his hands and ran up past the sleeve of his dress shirt. Dinner rolls around and David compliments Mom on her cooking, which surprised me. I asked if he really likes it. He said yes. Sis and I looked at each other and we instantly knew Dad didn't spike David's meal. I asked Dad if David got the right plate or if there was a mix-up. Then I told David Dad had prepared a special plate for him. Dad's face turned bright red and he told me to eat my dinner. Of course I didn't, so I said I'll go check the kitchen to get the right plate. Sis was trying so hard not to laugh and poor David was confused. Mom squeezed my leg hard so I knew the fun was over. After Sis and David left, Dad yelled at me for embarrassing him. Mom told me to apologize, but I refused, saying that I was only trying to help Dad out with the prank. I'm grounded until I apologize. Did I go too far for embarrassing my dad? Am I the asshole? Update. Thanks for reading my post. Even the people who called me the asshole, you took the time to read it. I'm still grounded, but it won't start until Sis leaves, so I spent the day with her and David. He's the funniest guy I've ever met. He kept Sis and I laughing most of the afternoon. He's also super sweet. He opened the doors for us everywhere we went and pulled out Sis' chair for her at the restaurant during lunch. I like him a lot. It wasn't all good times because they were always holding hands and kissing. I stopped doing that freshman year. My visual description of him was not to say he's ugly, but I meant to say he's the scariest guy I've ever met IRL. I felt like a queen today because everywhere we went, people just got out of the way. Anyway, thanks for taking time to read my post. Not the asshole. These pranks are dad being a bully. He didn't see the new boyfriend as an easy target or weaker than him, so he wimped out when it came to pulling the prank. Not the asshole. Sure, you embarrassed your dad, but by going out of his way to humiliate others, he invited it. Your dad needs to learn that pranks aren't cool. They're not fun. They're a power play, especially when the prankster can't handle when one blows up in his face. Edit. Being grounded until you apologize is also a power play. It's coerced compliance. There's nothing to be gained from it, no useful life lesson for you, it's about your dad's ego. I'm sorry about the situation you're in. Coming from a guy of similar age to your dad, his behavior sounds abusive and, to be honest, a little pathetic. Do what you need to get by until you move out, and don't set your expectations of reasonable adult behavior by that of your father. Am I the asshole for telling my ex's 2 youngest children I am not their father? I was with my ex for a while. But it ended and I learned that she had gotten pregnant with our daughter. She was not willing to co-parent, and so to see my daughter we needed to have it out in court. I won equal custody, but within a year of that she was hardly ever around. Then she became pregnant and her son was born with no father in the picture. She was not stable and did not give a crap about him at all. It got to the point where she was willing to drop him off with someone else, anyone else, and just leave him. I told her I would raise him. But she decided I should pay to get him. This became another court battle, and ultimately, she was too unstable with him to keep him, so he became my son. I adopted him very soon after. I raised my kids together, alone, and I've done my best to give them a good life. They didn't see or hear from their mom for years. Now both are in their teens and she's back, with 2 more children. She expected me to take in her other 2 kids, but I said no. I told her I was not going to start raising and being responsible for all the children she had. She didn't ask about my kids at all. She was just focused on the younger 2. She doesn't even want the same arrangement with them. She wants to raise them, but for me to act as a father and pay for them like they're mine. Now she has started to show up with her kids and pushes them on me. They have called me dad every time they have seen me and have asked why I don't want them. I'm not sure how old they are, both are definitely younger than 8. I told my ex to stop using her kids that way and that I would not change my mind. She didn't listen. The last time she showed up with them was at my son's sport game. Her kids came to sit by me and started calling me dad and saying they loved me. I decided that it had gone on too long and took them aside and told them I was not their dad, that their mom was mistaken and that I was sorry they had been led to believe something that wasn't true. They got upset and my ex raged at me and told me it was not my place. She accused me of saying they weren't good enough since I stepped up and raised my son when he wasn't really mine and her younger kids should not be different. Am I the asshole? Not the asshole, and you need to get 1 a restraining order against her and 2 call CPS immediately. She is messing with their heads mentally and coaching them on what to say to you. As well as making them believe you, the father, don't want them. Get her toxic self away from you, your children, and call whoever you need to so those babies can get some help. Absolutely not the asshole, and I'm sorry you've been put in this position. It's strange their mom isn't pursuing their actual father to be a dad to them, but I suspect coming to you because you stepped up before, which is commendable, and your 2 children is so fortunate to have you. You must seem like an easy target to her. I hope she realizes that this behavior will traumatize her kids, and I hope you get some peace soon. Not the asshole, Jesus Christ. What the hell? You are an admirable person for taking care of the son. Maybe consider getting a restraining order? Am I the asshole for refusing to drive my stepdaughter home? So my significant other and I have a daughter together and he has a daughter with someone else. Admittedly, he has a strained co-parenting relationship with the mom. She is 5 and I picked her up to visit this morning. Significant other doesn't drive. We had a great day together and had plans to go for dinner. He called the mother and said we had reservations at 6 and she could pick her up after. We had some very mild snow in the area today, and the mother asked my significant other if he could bring her home instead because she wasn't comfortable driving. He told her yes, without even asking me. I too am uncomfortable driving when the weather is less than desirable, and not to mention, I had already driven half an hour there and half an hour back to pick her up this morning. Plus, driven us all around the city in the afternoon having fun with the kids. So he tells me that I'm now driving her home, to which I say no? Why can't her mother pick her up? And he says she doesn't want to drive in the snow. So I say, well, what about me? You know I don't like driving in this either, plus I already picked her up and you didn't even ask me. Significant other blows a head gasket in front of the kids, and starts losing his mind on me, telling me I'm being irrational and that I'm ruining everything. He also had some colorful word choices for me. I packed up both kids in the car, and drove my stepdaughter home on that moment because I didn't want her to be involved in seeing her father treating me that way. She was upset and scared and told her mother she doesn't want to ever come back to my house. The mom isn't upset with me, but my significant other is now accusing me of making his access to his child even more strained. I told him he needs to be considerate of other people and stop making plans for others when he doesn't have a license, and that he should be asking me to do things instead of just assuming I'll play taxi driver. So Reddit, am I the asshole? Update. So's parents think I'm a total awe. They said I should have just kept quiet and dealt with it the following day instead of standing my ground, and that I should have cut significant other some slack. Update number 2. I have read everyone's comments, so thank you for everyone who took the time. I just wanted to clarify those who are insinuating I'm exposing my child for 10 years to this behavior and teaching her certain behaviors. Significant other and I have not been together or lived together since 2014. We have only recently, in the last few months, reconciled due to what I perceived as changed behavior. While my daughter has witnessed her dad being the asshole many times over the years, it is not a home she's ever had to come home to and worry about, as I have been a single parent for the majority of her life. We have had many discussions about boundaries and how we treat people when we don't get our own way and toxic behaviors that are not acceptable. Additionally, she does work with a therapist occasionally as a precaution more than anything. Not the asshole, but now you know why he is an ex and why they have a strained relationship. Not the asshole. Run. Or rather drive, not like he can follow. Not the asshole. Significant other blows a head gasket in front of the kids, and starts losing his mind on me, telling me I'm being irrational and that I'm ruining everything. He also had some colorful word choices for me. Well, there's a reason he has one ex. Sounds like he's trying for two. Not the asshole. You are absolutely right. He shouldn't have treated you that way. He could have called back and asked if the daughter could stay the night, or said that you couldn't drive her back after all, so what now? Theory if his custody relationship is very strained. Maybe he was afraid to refuse the mother's request? It's not an excuse for yelling, though. Info. Does he not know how to drive and doesn't have a license, or is he not allowed to drive and doesn't have a license because it was taken away?